What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are back to talk about Lions training camp. Day number 9 is in the books today. Day number 9? Are you kidding me? So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And we got some more takeaways from Lions training camp today. Today was the last normal day of training camp for the Lions this week until we're into preseason week. Is that what we're going to call it? I mean, the Lions kick off preseason next Friday. We are officially, by the time we're seeing this could be 6 days, but we are officially a week out from Lions training camp. I mean, not training camp, Lions preseason opener. It's crazy how close this is. Now, tomorrow's a little bit different. It's not going to be your normal training camp day. I thought it was, but then I looked at the schedule and I was like, oh my gosh, they're not having training camp. Found out it's the Family Fest. Oh, snap. Okay, so that's what's going on tomorrow. A little bit later in the day. If anybody was wondering, I do plan on being there tomorrow. It's at Ford Field. It should be pretty hype. I'm not sure how it's going to go. You know, I went to one in the past, but I'm not sure how it's going to compare. We'll see how it compares. But it should be pretty cool. Lions hold their practice indoors. I'm sure it'll be a little bit more fan-friendly in terms of, you know, maybe the way they interact. I've heard there's going to be live music, things like that. Maybe a little bit less of just a simply practice. You know, there will be practice, but I bet it's a little bit more fan-oriented today. I'm just guessing. Let's start off with who was there for the Lions. About Michael Brockers, he was once again there for the Lions, but again, he was not in pads. And yes, the pads came back on today. Yesterday there was no pads. It was super short. It was like, what's going on with training camp? But today they put the pads back on. But Michael Brockers didn't. Michael Brockers like, nah, I don't want the pads on. So he continues to really not participate. I mean, he'll go through walkthroughs, but that's about all you're getting from Michael Brockers at this point. Also, Quentin Dunbar was not there again. Still for the personal issue is what it's listed as. I don't know, man. I just want to see him out there. I do. Hopefully next week. But again, I also hope that everything is okay with Quentin Dunbar. Whatever is going on there, you know, is okay. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what's going on with Quentin Dunbar, but hopefully everything is all right. But I do want to see him on the field soon because, you know, he's a guy I was pretty excited about when we landed. I mean, him getting healthy coming off surgery, I was excited about what he could bring to the table. So hopefully he can get back out there. A couple of names today that did get a little dinged up during practice, and there's probably more names, but I would put Corn Elder in there who left a little early. Alex Brown was a little banged up a couple of days ago in practice as well. Terrell Crosby was not participating today for the Lions, and he could miss some time. Apparently he's dealing with a hamstring injury. You never like to hear that, but it also is something that you do hear when football comes back around at the beginning. I like that it's happening in training camp. Like, I don't like that it's happening, but it's happening now. It's not happening when the season starts. I felt like that was an issue last year. It was kind of like, okay, the season starts, and then players started getting these issues when the season started, so they missed time. That was very unfortunate. Obviously, it was a COVID year, so the offseason was completely different. But getting them now, it's never a good thing to have a hamstring injury, but getting it now, you should heal it by the time the season starts, and that's a good thing. Tom Pennicini, also no participation today. Nick Williams, he was not on the field for the Lions today. Ken Campbell did give us some insight on some of the injuries recently, and I guess I missed it, but yes, Thursday was planned to have a practice that they would kind of pull back the intensity. I don't know if it was ever told that it was going to be like that, but it was planned. However, they are having DeAndre Swift basically on a pitch count because he's dealing with a little bit of groin tightness. Now, I would say, yeah, today there was more snaps from him. There's still slightly a little bit of a snap count. I would say I think we've seen a lot more Jamal than Swift. But he's out there, he's participating. I think he's starting to work his way back up. But you got to be careful with those groins. We saw that last season with Jeff Okudah, and we don't want something happening like that. Jerry Jacobs, apparently he was stepped on his thigh, so he had a contusion there. Michael Brockers, it's just 10-year treatment. The guy's been in the league for a long time. Not 10-year, but 10-year. He's been in the league for a long time. They know what they're going to get, so they're going to give him rest whenever they possibly can. Okay, simple as that. I like it. Straight up. Julian Okudah was dealing with a rib injury, but again, we saw Julian do some good things today. So those are some updates that we've got from Dan Campbell. I appreciate the transparency there. So I know a lot of people have been wondering, Levi is out there and participating. He's mainly with the third string. He's definitely getting his feet under him, but he is out there participating, so I know that's awesome news. So yeah, there's still some names on this list. I wouldn't say there was any kind of big significant injury that went down today, and that's a very good thing. But there are still some guys in, still some guys out. We'll keep an update on this. I'm sure the names will kind of interchange a little bit as we go through this offseason. It's also super early, and you want to take things cautionary at this point. Now, I do want to start off with some of the notable drills that I took away from today. Okay, I thought we'd dive into that, and I think we can also throw special teams into the beginning here. Usually we do that at the end, but let's talk about special teams early. Let's give them some love early. Why wait till the end? But a couple of drills that stuck out to me today. All right, the linebackers went back to doing their strip drills early in practice like we've seen in the past. And the defensive backs also did this a little bit today as well. I thought that was interesting because it actually paid off in practice. In one-on-ones, Elijah Holder had a strip. He allowed a completion over the middle, and he stripped it out after that. I'm not sure if you slow it down, if it would actually been a strip or not, but he definitely allowed the catch, and then he knocked it out of his hand. So it was nice to see it actually show up on the field, that players are not only working on it, but they're also implementing it, and you could see them punching at the football. It's definitely something that's a focus of the Lions, is to punch at that football and force some turnovers. We need some turnovers this season. We need to make some big plays defensively to just change the outcome, right? Just change the momentum. Just flip the script, because once you get a turnover, everything just goes out the window. The game plan is like, whoa, hold up, the game's completely different now. Possessions are so valuable. Lions mixed in a lot more of their special teams drills today. Okay, we've seen the field goal kicking, which I actually don't even think we saw today. They did do punting, trying to punt inside the 10, but they had a lot of special teams drills today. They had the gunner versus 2 blockers today, so that was a little bit different. Instead of just 1, now they had 2, which you see a lot in the NFL, so it makes sense to practice that. Also, they had an interesting one at the offensive player, the receiving team that was trying to block, and the defense that was trying to get to the returner. There was no returns here. They were just trying to beat them as fast as they could. And we saw some of that Dave Phipp energy, which you obviously have to love. I love seeing that up close. You get to see that dude's energy, and you don't hear a lot about him. So it is pretty cool to see that. But one guy that specifically, he stood out to me in this drill. The way that he was blocking was so fantastic. This was Godwin Igwebuike. He was fantastic. 2 really strong reps. His second rep blocking versus Jamar Jefferson, I don't even think Jamar ever got off of him. Like, it was that impressive. And that's a lot of space to lock up a guy. That was huge. Some other drills, like they would have 2-on-1 returns, which I think was more about just getting in position, clogging lanes, wasn't leaving a wide open running lane. I gotta say though, Tom Kennedy is fast. I know I say it a lot, but every time I watch him, I'm like, that dude's so fat. This drill, a couple guys that stood out to me here was definitely Bobby Price. He got a lot of love today. AJ Parker, he got some love as well. Also, Elijah Holder. Now, Elijah Holder's name came up a few times today. But it's not always the most exciting, but it was a lot heavier today for the Lions. Now, I want to get into some of these other drills, which I know you're excited to hear. This is about the receivers versus DBs and the offensive line against the defensive line. Now, this was kind of tough because, again, they were doing both. So when you sit on the side, you can't really see one side perfectly, and plus they're going at the same time. So it's like, okay, I'm trying to watch both, trying to get notes of both. So I'm sure there's things I missed here for sure. Receivers with defensive backs, definitely one of the most fun to watch because you just get to see these guys on an island. And it's definitely different than 11 on 11s. And guys like Brashad Perriman usually thrives in this drill because he's just so tough one-on-one, on an island where he can go deep, he can go over top and go underneath, and you don't have that safety help. He's just so tough in these drills. And we saw that a little bit again today, but it was nice to see Jeff Okudah get some reps against Brashad Perriman here. That's what I was kind of waiting to see. I want to see Okudah versus Perriman because Perriman's been so tough in these drills for anybody to stick with. Plus, he's super fast. So I want to see how Okudah did. We saw him versus Tyrell early, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, which we again saw today as well in multiple drills. And then he got some reps against Brashad Perriman. So that was pretty cool. Now, one thing about Brashad is he usually can get on top of most defenders in this drill pretty well, pretty consistently when they ask him to. And if not, it's because the defender gives a lot of cushion, then he could just attack underneath. And that's what just makes him so tough without any kind of safety help, without being in a defense. It's just man-to-man, one-on-one, let's go at it, right? It's just a really tough matchup. Plus, he's got good size. And today we saw Okudah versus Perriman. And Perriman made a big catch, a deep catch on Jeff Okudah today. But I will give Okudah some credit. He was in pretty good position. He had tight coverage. And not a lot of guys always can say that they're able to really stick with him. It was Perriman really catching through traffic here. So I will give some credit to Jeff Okudah for being in a pretty darn good spot. And I think we've seen that out of him so far through training camp. You're not seeing those slips like we saw last year, which could be due to his health as well. I see Tyrell go against Amani go against Cephas, which was pretty awesome of a battle. But they're really mixing in these guys. But I want to talk about one of the battles that's really just become one of the most entertaining to watch. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Jeff Okudah. St. Brown a little bit smaller, definitely shiftier. Not top end speed like Brashad Perriman, but he's very shifty. And this is a tough matchup for Okudah because he's not your normal slot. This isn't like we're asking, hey, Mike Ford, go cover St. Brown. It wouldn't be easy, but it's kind of the guys that he covers. Okudah, he's used to going against the Tyrells, and heck, even a little bit of the Brashad Perrimans. But when you put a smaller, shifty guy on him, we saw last time we talked about these one-on-ones, there was some good, there was some bad. I haven't seen it much so far in training camp, but Jeff Okudah definitely got burned today by St. Brown, and it was just such a quick and shifty release. It was just so quick, and it was like 3 yards down the field, Jeff Okudah was in a bad spot. He was all of a sudden just 2-3 yards behind the play. I mean, just super quick right off the jump. And I think this is why we see so much success from a guy like St. Brown attacking the seam of a defense, because so quickly he can just get separation, like bam. So shifty, fakes extremely well, and all of a sudden, he's on top. It's a really tough spot to be in for a defense, and then you're asking safeties to slide over, and he's not afraid to go up in the air and take it out of the air and take a big hit. So I think that's what makes St. Brown such a deep threat from the inside position. And today he did kind of burnt Jeff Okudah, but Okudah wouldn't just sit there and let that happen. You know, he had to come back. He had to come back and make a play. And we saw that later he would come back and get a pass breakup on Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it was nice to see that battle. Kind of like yesterday, or I should say 2 days ago, we saw the battle where it had some back and forth. Same thing again today, where you see some good reps and you see some bad, but it's just a battle. And Jeff Okudah has a lot of confidence this season as well. But St. Brown is coming in, the mindset to take someone's job, and every rep he plays like that. If he makes a mistake, it's almost like he didn't make a mistake because he plays it off like he meant to do it. Another guy that stuck out to me today was Jerry Jacobs. Not only talking these, one-on-ones, we're also talking an 11-on-11. He had one to Tom Kennedy where he's in great spot, which was a forced incompletion. In this drill, he got beat by Damian Ratley and then came back and got a pass breakup on Javon McKinley. Okay, he's had the good and the bad. He had a pass breakup on Rashad Perriman. Every day you see good, you see flashes, and it's nice to see that potential every single day of like, okay, it's there. Like, it's clearly there. There's no one-offs here. He consistently can make plays. And then we actually saw him got involved in the 11-on-11s today, and he laid kind of a smack. I think it was aside from Kabinda, who ran over somebody today, he laid the boom. He laid the boom on Jamal Williams sliding in. And I was like, oh, he just kind of set the tone there. Sage Surratt is impressing me. This is the second straight day where Sage Surratt's someone I specifically took note of. Sage Surratt, I talked about it. He didn't look super fast or quick or twitchy, but today I was keeping a very tight eye on Sage Surratt. I really wanted to see his routes. And I'm pretty sure he went 100%. And he has very natural hands. I watched him through the drills early, and I know it's not the same because he's not getting covered. But one thing that you notice with Sage is he's got very natural hands. It looks like effortlessly, just one-handed grabs, just, oh, you're going to throw it to the sideline? Okay, I'll just snag that real quick. He's got great hands. And then on these one-on-one drills, he got a lot of good separation today, and it is his route running. Like, he has to have great route running because he's not that fast. If you look at his RES score, you're going to say, he's slow. But when you watch him on the field, he clearly knows how to get some space. It's an 11-on-11 drill, but it is cool to see guys cross-train. You can just kind of tell some of the guys that just have really high confidence. Like, Mike Ford may not always be fantastic in this, but he's been really good in 11-on-11. So it's definitely not the same. Perriman's been dominant in this, but he hasn't always been dominant in 11-on-11s. So it's definitely a different dynamic, but you can kind of tell and see where guys' strengths are. And that's why it was so impressive for me with Sage, because it's not like, he's just, it's 11-on-11s that he gets open. He can't make separation one-on-one. Like, no, he actually may be better in one-on-ones. And I want to talk about that physical drill, okay, because it was probably the most electrifying play of the day, and I don't want to beat around the bush here. I just want to get right to it. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Hefe. It was, let's just get right to it. These two went at it today. And it was the last rep of last rep of this drill. There was still 5 minutes left on the clock. I don't know why they ended it. Maybe they went through everybody. But it was kind of disgusting. It almost felt a little disrespectful. But it's also the kind of guy St. Brown is. He plays with just ridiculous confidence. And he's going at it. And Jeff Okudah is accepting the challenge. And he's going right back at it with him. So you love it. Every drill, you see these guys going at each other. Aside for really 11-on-11s because they don't match up that often. However, today, Jeff Okudah is a really good tackler. He consistently goes low, he gets on the legs, and he wraps up at a high level. He's a good tackler. He's not like I wouldn't call him a big hitter. He's just a really good tackler. Well, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown did some film study or something because he knew that Jeff Okudah was going to go low. And it's like Okudah's missed tackles throughout these drills, so it's nothing new here. It's not like he's been tackling everybody. Usually the offense has actually had a lot more success than defense through these drills. But he just popped right over Okudah. It was probably the loudest cheer of the day. It was like, whoa, hold up, After he jumped over Jeff Okudah, basically, he punted the ball straight up in the air, and that wrapped up the drill with a little bit of a celebration there. I'm sure Jeff Okudah is going to have something to say about that, okay? Especially in the next practice. If they roll this drill out again, I'm really curious to see how this goes. And I want to keep seeing this matchup because it's been one of the most fun headlines to see so far of training camp. Running backs in general, they've usually been successful. Last time they were, today they were as well. Running backs were good. Jamal Williams pulled out like a whole Derrick Henry stiff arm today, which I was like, dang, I see you. So that was pretty awesome. Dedrick Mills. Heck, Jason Kabinda, the dude shook Alex Anzalone. So it kind of tells you how tough it is for some of these defensive players in this drill, to get stops, because there is a pretty good amount of space. It's not like they're, it's a straight line. You got to run through them. Like, you have the ability to juke guys out, and it is a lot of space for a defender. But Jason Cabindo, when he shook Alex Anzalone, I was like, whoa. I saw Jerry Jacobs go against Amon-Ra St. Brown today as well. And, he juked the heck out of Jerry as well. But Jerry got back in the play and he pushed him out. So I think he actually may not have got the full 10 yards, but he did kind of lose him. But credit to Jerry for getting back into the play. Now, a couple defenders that stuck out to me through this drill, because like I said, usually the offense wins. But first off, Michael Ford. Michael Ford had a nice tackle. Amani Oruwariye probably had it looked like the nastiest tackle. I wouldn't say maybe it was the cleanest, because he did get pretty high here, but he did throw his guy out of bounds. He threw him on the ground out of bounds. Another one of the most exciting drills is the offensive line versus defensive line. You got one-on-one. There's no stunts. There's no blitzes. It's you, offensive line, versus that defensive line. There's a cone in the back to represent the quarterback. The entire offensive line, the entire defensive line is there. Well, actually, the entire offensive line, one defender, but it's just one-on-one. There's no help. One-on-one, and you got to get back to the quarterback. So, obviously, stunts, blitzes, just change things during the game. But these one-on-one reps to just see if you can consistently win here. And there's no linebackers in this drill either. It's the edge or the outside linebackers on base sets. And then, of course, your defensive linemen to just see who wins these one-on-one reps. And there's a lot of competition for the backup offensive line spots. Today, there was no Terrell Crosby. So we saw guys like Dan Skipper step up to be the number 2 right tackle. And we also saw Matt Nelson take over the left tackle role. So guys had to step up. Now, Evan Boehm got some reps as the number 2 center today, as Drake Jackson is going to, kind of battle with Evan Brown a little bit. So there's a lot of moving pieces still. I think Tommy Kramer and Logan Stenberg actually switched spots, because Logan Stenberg was back at left guard. So they're just moving it around, trying to figure out who's where right now. There's a lot of just opportunity to take positions as of right now. And I would say the second offensive line did seem better. 2 days ago, it was like, dang, that was bad. But today they seem better, okay? So I'll at least give them that. But let's get into some of my takeaways. First off, Deshaun Hand started it off by getting pressure. And we talked about Deshaun Hand, and I was impressed with him. He started this off by getting the pressure on Big V, all right? At that right guard position, he got pressure on, this might have been the first rep. I don't know. I can't exactly remember. Big V did show with some of that potential and some of the ability that he does have. Because like I'm telling you, this is like a big dude. There's a reason they call him Big V. And it's like, if he can just get in a good spot, there's no way anybody is moving this guy back. Deshaun Hand used some of that explosiveness and some of his agility to get to the quarterback here. Hand's been impressive. He really has. Plus, he's healthy. Knock on wood, that's amazing. But Big V did have one rep. I don't even know who this was against, honestly. I couldn't even tell from where my angle was, but complete stonewall. It was the only rep that I saw like this, where the defender literally got about a yard and just stopped moving. That's it. Usually the offensive player moves with him back and forth. No, it's like he just ran into a brick wall. Big V's got that ability. We just need to see more consistency there. He's working on it, right? This is his first season getting a whole offseason of work as a right guard. So I'm excited for what he can be, and I'm hoping we do see improvement this season. But you see some of those reps, and it's like, dang, man. Okora also got some love today. Now, he went against some of the backup tackles. He actually did get a nice inside move on Matt Nelson, which I would say you could call it a pressure. I wouldn't say he necessarily got all the way to the quarterback. It wasn't terrible. It was a pretty competitive rep, but you could say he got some pressure there. The second one, then, we saw Matt Nelson win that next rep. However, where it really went down, and this was impressive. Not gonna lie, I actually had to look at this a couple times. Like, wait a minute, am I looking at is that really what just happened? Julian Okora versus Penei Sewell. We thought about Romeo going at Sewell, and by the way, Romeo's been fantastic. How about Julian throwing out a little bit of a spin action and getting to the quarterback or the cone on Penei Sewell, the rookie? Okay, Julian, we've been waiting to see this. His ability to attack the inside, attack the body, and work off of that. He's so explosive. He's so agile, but you got to add more to it, right? We know how quick you are. We know what you can do. But we got to see you win these one-on-ones. And to beat Penei Sewell, yeah, he's a rookie, but he set him up here. Showed some of that athleticism, hit him with that counter spin, and he got right to the cone. It was pretty. Probably the prettiest rep I've seen from Julian. Like, you see, like, oh, he's quick, but he's not beating guys. This was like a complete win here. So that was impressive. You're going to see that stuff from Sewell from time to time, right? This is a different level of football. It really is. But Julian Okora, it was good to see him have a rep like that. Also, I got to give some love to Ali McNeil. He also threw out another spin again today on Evan Boehm, where he got back to the cone. Ali McNeil's just so agile. I know I say it. It sounds overspoken, but it's just the truth. Just such a very agile, big defensive lineman. It's impressive to see him go to work. Now, he didn't just go out there and dominate every rep, though. I'm pretty sure he went against Frank in one rep, and Frank was like, yeah, we ain't having that. We ain't having that, Aleem. He pushed him, like, out of the play, okay? You know, there's one thing going against Evan Boehm, getting the number 2 center reps. Another thing that face maybe the best center in football. It's a definitely different level. That's not to say he hasn't had his reps and hasn't had his plays against Frank Ragnow, because he has. But this one, I would have to give the side definitely to Frank Ragnow on the next rep. Flowers is a stud today. Wow. I mean, I don't think anybody really stuck with Flowers today. He just showed a lot of counter pass rush moves. He ability to go outside, inside, get low, the bend at his side. And he's so strong for his size. Like, he doesn't look the part, but he's very strong. And also, he has some of that quickness. He went against Logan Stenberg today, and I don't know why. It just didn't look right. It really didn't. And we're going to see some of that. He'd get opportunities to go against guards. Later, he would come back and beat Taylor Decker at the left tackle position. I mean, Trey Flowers is a really nice pass rusher because he can do it from anywhere. There's a lot of counter moves there. Decker reacted to the first one really well, but it was that second move where Trey Flowers was able to stay really balanced, stay on his 2 feet, and he was able to continue to work his way back to the quarterback. It wasn't the quickest win, but he did have a lot of success today, and it's nice to see that out of him because, you know, he's getting paid a lot of money. We know what he can do. It's nice to see him back out there and healthy. Kramer, I felt like, had some solid reps playing at that right guard spot, so they've been moving him around a little bit. I thought Tommy Kramer did a pretty good job today. There was a nice battle between Penei Sewell and Charles Harris. You can give the edge there probably to Penei Sewell, but Harris showed a little bit of pop, and we know the Lions released Reggie Gilbert, so I think they saw something in Charles Harris that they liked. And of course, when you see a rep like that from Julian, you just see all the potential to spew out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what he can do. This is the kind of thing that he can bring to the table. Let's sting up with some 11 on 11 talk, and I know you probably heard the headlines. Jared Goff was taking more shots today, and I think you could definitely say he was taking more shots. So there was some good. Obviously, there were some downs for Jared Goff today, but there were a couple of shots, and they kind of came out with a bang. But let me talk about some of the takeaways that I had. Let's start off with some scheme takeaways. First off, really cool. They said they were going to use Jamal and Swift at the same time, and there were a couple of snaps. The first time they didn't actually snap it, they had to go back and huddle, and they ran out the same play again. But what they did is they put Jamal Williams in the backfield with Jared Goff out of the shotgun to his left. And then on his right, he had DeAndre Swift. Not in the backfield, instead lining up at the receiver position. Pretty tight to the line of scrimmage. Now, he wouldn't stay there because they would send Swift in motion. Goff got the snap. I think it was a play action to Jamal, and he threw a screen to Swift across the field where it was set up for his receivers to block. It wasn't like a huge gain. It probably went for like 5 yards, maybe something in that range. But it was cool to see them both on the field. They talk about it. Hey, if Jamal's rolling, you know, we'll do that. But Swift, he can do so much else. We can put him on different spots of the field. And even he could be a decoy in those situations to open something else up. It was cool to hear him not only just say we can do this, but also go show you how they can do it. That sweep today to Victor Bolden didn't go for a huge gain again. The defense didn't give up a lot of, you know, huge runs today. I mean, I don't think they gave up like any big run today. So they were pretty good there. Give them the credit. You know, they didn't allow that to happen today. We saw consistent runs. We didn't see huge runs. Jason Kabinda continues to stick out. Man, and it's like every day in practice, he seems like he's just getting more and more comfortable being a versatile player. He's not that guy that was a linebacker moved to fullback that just blocked. He's starting to turn into a little bit more of, I can do a lot of different things. You're seeing the complete development of a guy like Kabinda. And it's awesome to see in person because Jason Kabinda has become a guy that you can use in a lot of different ways. Today, he lined up like a tight end, and they put him in motion. They did a play action rollout. They threw it to Kabinda. He caught the pass, all great up to this point. And then he ran over a defender. We haven't seen like a complete hit stick like this, but today we saw, I mean, just pop. It was, dang, Jason. Okay, the pads come on, and you just, no mercy. The tight end position is still open. I mean, Alize Mack may have the leg up, but it's open. I got to say it. Brock Wright got a lot of high reps today. There was actually one rep he got with the first string offense. They went to an empty set, and he lined out there as a tight end, as a pass-catching threat. He had a nice catch today. I also think he had a drop today, if I remember correctly. It was a pass behind him from Goff, which he dropped. But he has been getting some solid reps. But that roster spot, it's not confirmed. It's not confirmed that Alize is going to be number 3. I would say he has the leg up, but Brock Wright's competing. Charlie Taumapau had a nice completion today as well. Hunter Thedford had a drop. I wouldn't say Hunter Thedford had a great day, but there's still competition there. Still saw Iffy line up at different spots. Nickel, outside, those two particularly. He was like the big nickel when they would go 2 inside, cornerbacks because they would go to sub packages. He played the bigger receiver, play a little bit further towards the outside, which makes sense. They would put, like, let's say Ford or Cornell on the closest to the line of scrimmage there. But he did get some nickel reps as well today, and that's cool to say. They continue opportunities like that. I gotta say, the defense keeps showing blitz packages, and I think we're gonna see more this season. That's not to say we're gonna be one of the highest blitzing teams, but you're gonna see the Lions do it. The cornerbacks, they like to blitz their corners. We saw Mike Ford do it. They like to blitz their slot corners. They like to do that. Outside, not as much. Slot corners, they like to bring them. Safeties, we saw a safety blitz today that actually got home, and I think it was Julian that got the sack, so that was pretty cool. We've seen linebacker blitzes today. In walkthroughs, they put Julian on the inside on a sub package, so they put Julian inside, 2-point stance, and they let him rush from there. And I actually think it was a cover zero blitz. We haven't seen much of that. Cover zero, that's been really rare to see that the last 3 years. So that was different. Big cover zero, no safety over top, one-on-one across the board. Everybody else get after the quarterback. So you're seeing some of these blitzes, but it's also giving an opportunity for Jared Goff to learn how to pick them up. You're seeing a lot of different positions blitz. So I expect to see some more versatility with blitzes and some unique packages the Lions throw out there where they're going to throw a lot of different looks. The game plan dependent. The shots came out a little bit more today, but I want to talk about that run game first. And the run game, like I said, didn't really break any runs today. There wasn't any huge runs. There were some nice plays, no huge runs. Credit to the defense for limiting that. But they consistently got about 4 to 5 yards a pop. There really wasn't negative play. I can't even remember a negative run play today. There's one that had a chance, as I think it was an edge rusher got into the backfield, but let's just say Jamar Jefferson said nope. Jamar Jefferson, right off the handoff, put on the brakes, pop, run by, and he picked up about 5 yards. If he can just start to add some of those other things to get better there, he'll be able to see the field a lot more, and it's going to be cool because Jamar is really good. You're going to see it in the preseason. Trust me. Y'all will see it in the preseason. You'll know what I'm talking about. I guarantee it. A little bit of that cutback ability still. But he also showed us a mix. Swift is nice because they're able to get him to the outside, but then you can also see him run between the tackles and pick up 4 to 5 yards. Jamal Williams, a lot of his reps have been between the tackles, from what I've seen. Dedrick Mills as well. But then you see a guy like Jamar, the Lions are finding a lot of success to him with the outside because it's allowing him to cut back. There's no running plays, tosses, things like that. So you're seeing, he can do both, but you're seeing how they're utilizing these running backs. And pass protection was pretty good. Pass protection has been pretty good. Really, when pass protection becomes an issue is sometimes extra blitzers, and that's something they're going to have to work on picking up. For the most part, the offensive line as a whole, as a unit today, I would say was definitely improvement based on 2 days ago in 11-on-11 drills. Now, I'd got to give some more love to my safeties because, again, the safeties today, and I got a lot of examples, they were good. They were good. Elijah Holder had an INT today. We're talking about 5 interceptions now in the last 5 days of practice, right? David Blau was the quarterback. David Blau did a play-action rollout. And it was so impressive. Marlowe, no hesitation, shot down underneath, took away a tight end crossing route, which forced Blau to hold on to it. He looked there, and he had to hold on to it and run out of bounds. I don't think he picked up nearly anything. That was awesome. If he was trying to follow the crosser, it may not have been a tight end, but he was trying to follow across the field. It could have been a slot receiver. But Dean Marlowe slid down, took that route away. He took away the outside look for David Blau. It forced him to fake it, hold on to the football, and run out of bounds. Walker did get beat early in practice against Khalif Raymond, and he went to Aubrey Pleasant right after. At video boards, which shows him replays, so he went and checked that out and was trying to figure out why he was late. Similar to what Dean Marlowe did today, Will Harris shot down, took away TJ Hawkinson on a route, and it forced the ball to go elsewhere. It's those little things that the safeties do that you don't really pick up when you're just watching the football. But I was trying to really take a look at what the safeties were doing, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they've been able to do in the back end. Because when the shots came out, he got by the safeties. Now, Goff did take more shots today, but this is why I said, hey, the safeties deserve credit because they're limiting things underneath. And it makes sense that they came out of the gates with an early shot because Tracy Walker was behind. Tracy Walker didn't stay on top of it. He didn't follow well, and that's what he's trying to figure out after the play. Before we get into the passing game and what went down, I want to give a quick couple of notes on the defensive line. The defensive line, we saw Cornell's versatility. So the Detroit Lions, they didn't have John Pennicini today. They did have their new nose tackle, UDFA back in 2019, Miles Brown, a 320-pound, 6'2" nose tackle out of Wofford. Now, we may talk about him a little bit more. I don't want to go super into detail because we really didn't see him much on the field today, but it does give them some size and a guy that could play from the 0 tech to the 5 tech. First team all-conference player, and I'm pretty sure he was a 2-time third-team all-conference player. His final year at Wofford, he had 5 sacks and 9.5 tackles for loss. You look at his relative athletic score numbers, he's not the most athletic player, but he does still add some versatility, and for a guy that's 320 pounds, I don't think you're expecting a ton of athleticism here. He also only had 24 bench press reps, but it does seem like he's more of a pass rush upside kind of guy because of his versatility across the defensive line. But this signing, without a guy like John Pennicini, gives the Lions some size, takes some pressure off of Lee McNeil, and it can allow him to play at different spots like 3 tech. We're missing Michael Brockers. We missed Nick Williams today. So you still have guys that are out. Specifically without Brockers and John Pennicini, you don't really have a guy that can play like a true nose tackle, right? You don't have a guy with that kind of size. Sure, Levi did it at Washington, but he's better better suited for passing downs. We saw that at Washington. Jashon Cornell is not a pure nose tackle unless it's on passing down. So we could use another guy with some size there as well, which he brings to the table. His first year came with the Arizona Cardinals, where at one point he was activated during the season, and the next year he would spend about the latter half of the year with the Tennessee Titans until he was picked up by the Lions. So I won't go super into detail with this. We may do a video on him at some point, but we didn't see him a ton today. So maybe we'll dive into that a little bit more. Lions also made some noise by releasing tight end Jake Houseman out of Ohio State, UDFA, that was given a shot here. We have a lot of unproven tight ends. You kind of know what you got in the top two, but after that, it's like, okay, it's up for grabs. You know, who's going to win that role? So we gave a lot of guys opportunities. And unfortunately for Jake Houseman, who is known more as a blocking tight end coming out of Ohio State, didn't really get any targets whatsoever at Ohio State. That was the part of his game he had to prove. And unfortunately for him, through training camp, he just wasn't able to find that consistency as a pass catcher. There were usually drops, about as much as there was catches here. So that was super unfortunate. And when I say, the tight end position is open, the number 3 tight end position, I truly believe that. It's Brock Wright, it's Alize Mack, it's Charlie Taumapau, a healthy Hunter Thedford, and heck, you're even using Jason Cabinda sort of like a tight end. I mean, there's a lot of competition here. So it's unfortunate. You always hate when players get released, but the Lions have released Jake Houseman, the UDFA tight end out of Ohio State. Wishing him the best of luck. Cuts have to happen at some point, right? And that's a position that, even though we don't really know what we're going to get, it is sort of crowded. I think Brock Wright, at least today specifically, he stepped up a little bit. Alize Mack looked like the number 3 tight end. And then now Charlie also getting out there and getting involved today. So it's going to heat up that battle for sure. Notice here, this will keep one roster spot open. So if there's a player Lions want to go grab, something comes available, they still keep that roster spot open. It was only about 3-4 hours after they decided to go out and sign their new nose tackle. He waived Jake Houseman. So they're still leaving that one roster spot open. With the defensive line, we saw Cornell's versatility. They used him a little bit at nose tackle. He was in a 4-3 defense, and he had a lot of success from that defensive tackle spot as compared to the defensive end spot. So he gives you a little bit of inside versatility as well. Work on passing downs, I could absolutely see that. Early downs, it could be a little bit of an issue, but the Lions used him there a little bit today as, like I said, they were missing a guy like John Pennicini, so they gave him some reps there. I did say we saw Levi today, so that was pretty cool. He wasn't perfect. Like I said, he had the offside call. He didn't really have any plays that stood out to me, but it's nice to just get him back on the field simply as that. And Aleem McNeil did look good. And then as a run defender today, he had a really nice stop. It limited it to 2 yards. He had a solo tackle and a running back breaking out of the backfield. Austin Bryant, towards the tail end of practice, did get a little bit of pressure off the edge there, so that was pretty nice. But like I said, most of the pressure was really coming from the outside linebacker position on 11-11s. 1-on-1s, it was a little bit different, but 11-11. So, you just look at this offensive line. The starting offensive line is really strong, and they look pretty darn good. But the second unit played at a higher level. But let's talk about that passing game, okay? Because that's been getting the headlines, is how much Goff was taking shots, everything like that. And yes, he did take more shots today. It's just the defensive looks, and I think that's what it was. Like I said, his first shot came because Tracy Walker was behind the plate, so he took the shot deep. Also, you have to give credit to the offensive line because they're giving him time to go through these progressions and allow him to take these shots. Offensive line has played really well. He's consistently getting at least 3 seconds of protection where he can roll through some of these progressions, and that's a huge deal. Even on maybe his worst pass of the day, he still had a pretty good amount of time. He's a little hesitant, but he still had a good amount of time. So you got to give credit to the offensive line there. But Dan Campbell was speaking to Jared Goff a lot today. I don't know about what, but they had a lot of one-on-one conversations today. Specifically at the end of practice, they had a one-on-one conversation, so I thought that was worth note. Maybe he saw the headlines. He's like, I could take the deep shot. Regardless, so there were a couple more shots to the outside receivers, but it's still most of the production did come from the usual suspects. The tight ends, all right? Just in general, the tight ends had a lot of work today. Right out of the gate, he took a deep shot over the middle of Khalif Raymond. Now, he did overthrow this pass, but it was deep. It was at least 40 yards, actually right out of the gate. But like I said, Tracy Walker was a little bit late to react. Got behind him, Khalif Raymond did. He threw it a little bit over his head, and it fell incomplete. Goff doesn't seem to like to just force things. Just, like he says, take what the defense gives me. So if it's not something that he feels like he has to force because of situationally, really, he had a look, he took the shot, it just fell incomplete. But that wasn't the only shot they would take of the day. A guy that stood out to me today in particular, and he's done it a couple times in these 11-on-11s, is Michael Ford. Ford can cover, and he's shown it outside and inside. A lot of pass breakups, really good positioning. We know he's a good tackler. One-on-one, it doesn't always look great. Also, credit to the secondary as a whole. They didn't have the penalties like they did 2 days ago or 3 days ago. They had a lot of penalties, a lot of holdings, a lot of PIs, and it was like, my goodness, what are you guys doing? Today, that wasn't the case. T.J. Hockenson continues to be a very, very big weapon for Jared Goff. His best pass today probably came to T.J. Hockenson, and we'll get into that because I want to save it. Attacks the middle with it. And like I said, I think the safeties, because when you think about how Jared Goff goes through his progressions, a lot of times his drop does line up with the deep pass. Look there. So it's not like he's looking deep, but that first look is there. The safeties are there in coverage. They slide over to help, and then he attacks the middle of the field. And that's why T.J. Hockenson has had so much success. Flats, Hawkinson's been more involved over the middle than the other guys, but Charlie Taumapau had one over the middle today. Brock Wright had a catch, and then he had a drop on a pass a little bit behind him, but he likes to throw it to his tight ends. That is for sure. Tyrell Williams got some work from the slot. I guess that's a scheme one, but they put Tyrell in the slot a lot more today to get that matchup. It's something we expect. Anthony Lynn's the guy that really made that a thing with Tyrell, and Tyrell balled when he did it. He was so dominant from slot. And we saw one rep today that was pretty impressive against Jamie Collins. That's not a matchup that you want, and that's why this makes it so tough, because if you ever get Tyrell on Jamie, it's going to be a problem, right? It just is. He's bigger than Jamie, so you don't even have the size advantage as a linebacker. But he threw it to Tyrell Williams. Jamie Collins slipped in coverage, like he fell on the ground, and it was a nice completion there to Tyrell. But that is a spot that they've been using him at a lot more recently, is getting him involved there. Khalif playing the Z receiver position, allowing him to motion, go inside, outside, Perriman on the outside. We've seen Quintez Cephas line up a little bit at slot today as well. For the linebacker group, Shawndian Hamilton probably stood out the most today, because he did have a nice pass breakup on a running back flat. I also think that he did have a sack today as well. So I'd say Shawndian Hamilton probably stood out the most for any linebacker. Michael Ford's been really fantastic. And again, this was another example of safety help. There was one shot that they took on like a little wheel route. Mike Ford against Amon-Ra St. Brown to the outside of the field. Ford was in great coverage. It was a really good throw as well. The issue was the safety slid over, took away the top of the route, and all of a sudden it was basically turning into double coverage. The pass fell incomplete. He had a pass breakup today on Quintez Cephas, who was lining up at the slot position as well, continuing to get first string reps. However, there was a final drive today, and I can't remember exactly which plays were from this, because I didn't realize what it was until a couple of plays in, and I was like, oh, they're actually moving the football. They're actually doing a final drive. So I wish I would have actually wrote down every play, because I don't remember exactly which plays from what. Through this final drive, it was pretty much the starting offense, a couple of mix-ins in terms of like not necessarily starters from what we know. And then defensively, it was a lot of it second team and third team defensive players. Not exactly sure why, but that's just something I thought we'd note. So offense definitely seemed to have more starters on the field in terms of offensive line, in terms of Jared Goff. They have more starters on the field, and I hope we get more of these drills because I'm looking forward to it. Drive started with the Jamal Williams, 4 to 5 yard run. It was a solid run in between the tackles. But then Jerry Jacobs laid a boom on Jamal Williams inside. That was nice to see him slide in and lay the hit. It kind of really set the tone for the defense there, because following that up was Jalen Elliott, who laid another big hit. So you like to see the defensive backs get inside there and lay some smacks. Well, some shots that the Lions took in this drill as well. First off, to Quintez Cephas. I think this was on this drive, but they took a shot to Quintez Cephas, and Goff threw it like back shoulder, who was running deep down the right side, and he threw it back shoulder. Cephas seemed to turn around a little late. It made sense because the defender had inside leverage. He threw it to the outside. Cephas turned around, and it almost made a spectacular catch. I couldn't even tell if he caught it. It looked like he did. He kind of slid down, bop. It would have been a big gain, probably about 30 yards. Must hit the ground. I guess it must have fell incomplete. Then they took a shot to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They took a shot to St. Brown right down the seam. I believe this was on the final drive. I'm not completely sure about this one, but I believe it was. This beautiful throw, and they gave St. Brown a shot. He attacked deep up the seam, and it was really tight coverage. Like, there was not much space given. I believe this was also Mike Ford in coverage, but there was not much space given here. Goff gave him a chance, though. Put it in his hands. He just was unable to turn his body completely around and come down with the football. He had to, because he was running straight, he had to turn around for the football, catch it, and go through the process of it. It was tough. Tight coverage. You got to give credit to the secondary. But this Goff gave him a shot, just unable to connect on these. He had a pass to Geronimo Allison that was pretty deep that hit over the right side of the field. Allison was struggling a little bit through some of the drills, but this was nice. Nice big gain here, which got the Lions offense moving. And then Jared Goff probably had, I would say, the best pass I've seen of Jared Goff. I mean, I've seen a lot of good passes, but this one was pretty because probably where we were sitting, honestly. I don't know what down this was. I'm not sure if this was a third or second. I don't know. If it was the third, it would make sense why he forced this one, or maybe he just really likes throwing to T.J. Hockenson. But Jared Goff threaded the needle right over the middle. I mean, it was beautiful pass. When he threw it, I thought Tavai was going to pick it. Tavai dropped deep middle. It was probably at least 15 yards deep in route for T.J. Hockenson. Safeties. There was the linebacker sliding over in Tavai. There was two safeties. There was Tavai sliding over. And I thought Tavai would pick it. must have been just out of his reach because it went right by his hand. It was the throw that I've seen, my favorite throw for Jared Goff this entire training camp. It was pretty. Absolutely pretty. And those are the type of throws that you kind of wait to see as a fan sometimes. You just kind of want to see him. It's like, oh, okay, he's got some talent. He's got a little arm. Sometimes you just like those throws just because it makes you feel good. You know, it just makes you feel better than the dump off. Like, the dump offs are great, but sometimes as a fan, you just want a feel good pass, and that was one of them. And it pushed him down the field. But it ended on a third down where he threw an out route, and A.J. Parker nearly came up with an interception. It fell incomplete, fourth down. It was about a 3rd and 6 from what I remember, something like that. So he, again, and because of the way they were doing it, they weren't taking points. This was the last play of practice. Even after this fell incomplete, they didn't go out there and kick a field goal. They just ended practice. So this was it. This was the last play of practice. So it makes sense why Goff would force this. But at the same time, if you turn it over down there and not get points, that's terrible. You don't want that. But he looked a little hesitant here. He threw an out route, kind of hesitated, and he stared him down just a little bit too long. And A.J. Parker jumped it, nearly came up with an interception. It was a great play for him, but it fell incomplete. They could have kicked the field goal. They were in great field goal range. It was at the opponent 25. It was probably about a 4th and 6, but they ended practice there. So it was cool to see them have a final drive where they moved the ball downfield, and they moved it well. Credit to the defense you have to give today. Today was an interesting day. Tomorrow should be very interesting as well when they go to that team practice. Not exactly sure what to expect with this regime and how they're going to run it, but I'm excited to go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prop, for watching, and I'm out.